Hey everybody, it's me again. This should be our last training video for the materials for the Snow Tracks and Traces unit, part of the Designs in Nature theme for ELF. I'm Denise. Today, myself and a few other wonderful volunteers went down to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and we got this bin full of cool specimens from their education collections. So I'm going to kind of go through the types of specimens we have and then some ground rules, and I asked that all coordinators and everyone running Center 2 please watch this carefully and take note of the ground rules. So we have kind of, well, first of all, there's a lot of stuff here, so take some time to sort through it and think about your age group and your audience and choose accordingly. This goes with the center where you also have the clay and the foot casts and the other specimens. You could spend the whole 15-20 minutes just looking at this stuff, and that might not be a bad idea if you want to avoid the mess with the clay and all that. I'll leave it up to you. But just be aware that there's a lot of information here. This talks a lot about traces. There's a little bit of tracks, but it also really talks about traces and the traces animals leave behind and what we can tell from those traces if we see them in the wild. So first of all, we have some different bones. And if you look at the labeling, some, like this one says it was coyote nod. So it is part of a mule deer, but it has some gnawing from a coyote. So that's a trace, the bone is a trace of the mule deer, and the gnawing is a trace of a coyote. So lots to be learned there. Our next kind of category of stuff, I'm tripping over my dog, is scat and pellets. So we have, big old mud pie here, bison, and a lot of these are super cool because you can see what has been eaten. So like this one has owl pellets with a whole pellet with a mammalian prey, so you can see like maybe a little mouse or something skull, and then this one has an avian prey, so you can see like a little bird skull in there. So the kids can look at that with the hand lenses and talk about, you know, how poop can tell us about the animal, what they've eaten, where they've been. This is the mountain lion scat, has a lot of hair in it, so that could be a cool scientific question. Why does it have a lot of hair in it? And let them kind of come up with different ideas. These are a couple pieces of aspen that have clearly been rubbed down by teeth, horns, claws. Again, antlers, something that you can talk about and let them kind of think about. We don't really have the answer, so it's kind of just an open query that students can discuss. And then finally, we have some more casts of animal footprints, and they're all labeled on the front or the back. This one's kind of cool. It's a little more comprehensive. It has the predators of North America. So this is a good one for talking about the differences between cat versus dog prints, and there's different sizes and all that good stuff. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the ground rules. First of all, an ELF adult must be with these materials at all times. So don't put this center out in the hallway, because I don't want, as you're rotating or going to the bathroom or whatever, I don't want it to be left alone. So always make sure the ELF adult is with it. I also recommend only taking out 1 or 2 things at a time, because students are going to get excited. This is cool stuff. It's real bones, real poop specimens. So they're going to want to touch it and look at it. But 1 or 2 at a time, and make sure you go over the ground rules with them before you let them start to investigate the materials. So I am actually going to use a couple of volunteers to help me demonstrate a couple of the important ground rules. So first I'm going to bring up my daughter Cece. She is going to demonstrate the 2-finger touch, which is pretty self-explanatory, but if kids do want to touch it, which they will, Cece will demonstrate how they should touch it. 2 fingers. They don't need to be grabbing it, no wielding it as a weapon, because you know there are some kids who will try to do that. So just keep it very clear, 2-finger touch, nice and gentle, and that should be easy to follow those rules when they're really set rules. Yeah, no pounding, no grabbing. Awesome. All right, thank you, Cece. All right, the next rule, especially with some of these covered pellets, because this is covered in glass, so it could easily break, so watch where you set it. my daughter Aleda is going to come up and demonstrate the two-hand pass. So it would be easy enough for students to just be kind of like passing these around, not really paying attention. We want them to be very aware of what they're doing. Two hands to two hands. You got it? Mm-hmm. Then we let go. And then when we're done, passing to the next person or passing back to the teacher, two hands to two hands. We did not break anything. High five. All right. Thank you, Aleda.
Thank you too. Bye.
All right, so one other thing is I would leave out like a little home. There's a lot of these packing materials in the box. I would leave one out for each specimen so it has a home place to go to. First of all, it's a little extra cushion if the kids put it down harder than they should, and it's also just helps guarantee that it gets back in the place it belongs versus set down on a seat or on the corner of a table where it could easily fall off. So kind of be organized with what you're doing. No food, did I say that already? No food or water, absolutely no food or water. So even if kids keep water bottles at the tables, please take them off for this activity. Have a nice clear space. And then the final thing I'm going to tell you is we have an inventory sheet. I think there's 14 items, but everything is outlined here. Each specimen does have, takes some looking sometimes, a tiny little handwritten or little sticker with the inventory number. So if you're not sure, you can use this to first find out what everything is and get a little more background information in some cases. But also it helps you inventory, make sure we get everything back in the box carefully and keep this in the ELF closet where it's out of sight of everybody else. So I think that is it for this. Again, we are very fortunate to have these materials at our that we're allowed to use them, so be very careful with them. And if accident does happen, which it might, the museum told us they will not make us feel guilty about it, and we don't want to make students feel guilty about it should anything happen. But please just notify me right away so that I can be in touch with the museum and see the best process for getting everything fixed and back where it belongs. If you have any questions, email me at mitchellelf@gmail.com. Have fun and enjoy these cool materials. Thanks.
Hi.